you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are. We are the Quantum Mechanics, the paranormal podcast for believers, doubters, and everybody in between.
I was kind of raving away there to our title music. Normally when we're playing it in, I'm kind of just checking stuff, but I was listening and I was grooving.
Do you remember at the end of Blockbusters, they occasionally did the dance?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were doing that. Who would know on our podcast?
Probably almost everybody. Target reference.
Yeah. We've got quite a lot to get through today. Should we just get straight into it?
Yes, I think that's probably the best way.
Unless you've got anything majorly paranormal that you want to share?
Nothing paranormal happened to me this week, sadly.
Which is probably good.
Oh,
no, something
actually,
did.
I do.
Go on, let's have that.
Right, so I was going to save this for the scoop, but I thought, no, look, we often talk about the haunted pub that we started this podcast in.
Yep.
I had a story from somebody else in a different haunted pub, and it's one of the best haunted pub stories I've told because ever heard, because it was told to me by the person it happened to very quickly. They've been doing some renovations there, and they knew that they had a ghost, but the young woman who is the daughter of the person who owns it, so I'd say she's in her early 20s, she was cashing up, and looking over the cash machine is one of those Nest type cameras. And a voice spoke to her. I won't say what it said because it'd be quite personal to her. She thought it was her dad speaking through the camera. She then turned around, went to speak to the camera. It said the same phrase in a different way using her name. She then phones her parents and her dad is fast asleep.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it addressed her by a pet name through the camera, and the camera battery died as well. So I just thought that was a really good.
Well, that is a good one.
Little thing, yeah. Not in our normal pub, but a pub in the local vicinity that happened in.
I'll tell you what,
very interesting.
We've hauntings abound where we are, aren't there?
I know. I was really impressed by this. So anyway, that's something did happen paranormal to somebody that I know.
Cool, excellent. Well, Ben, do you remember the other week we did that episode on real magic? And I mentioned that the author of that book on real magic, Dean Radin, had talked about people he felt had credible and amazing abilities in psi and psychic phenomena.
Yes.
I don't know, I named them psi superstars, if you like. Well, today I want to talk about one of those superstars that he identified. And it's a man who seemed to be a master in premonition, precognition, and psychokinetic abilities that, if they were true, were literally off the scale. A man who claimed to have prevented natural disasters and deliberately caused many as well.
That's quite dark.
A man who could control the weather and even punished individuals, companies, and governments who didn't take him seriously.
Ooh.
He did this, he said, under the direction of an extraterrestrial intelligence.
Oh, Ashtar Command.
Yeah. Now, it all sounds too fantastic to be true, right? But some of the biggest names in the field of paranormal and UFO research showed an interest in him, including Hal Puthoff, Russell Targ, and J. Allen Hynek.
Okay.
The man we're talking about is Ted Owens, but he likes to call himself the PK Man. So psychokinetic PK Man.
My friends call me PK, yeah?
Now we're going to have a look at his life and work through a book written by someone who knew him well and studied him between 1976 up until Owens' death in 1987. The author is Jeffrey Mishlove, and the book is titled The PK Man.
Okay.
And Ben, you might want to get your paranormal bingo card ready for this episode. We've got the lot coming up. He's looking at his bingo card.
I was staring down there, yeah. So by that, do you mean it's kind of like a Uri Geller type spread of metal bending and telekinesis? And
we have got everything coming up. Now, before we get into the book, let's look at some definitions. It's something I like to do, just so we're clear what we're talking about. So, precognition, I guess you describe it as a type of clairvoyance that allows someone to see into the future or predict future events.
Yeah.
And then the second word to consider is psychokinesis, the ability to move objects or affect the physical world with the power of the mind alone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mention these two words because they are important when we look at the extraordinary phenomenon Ted Owens displayed. Because there's a debate that ranges in the book and throughout people who've looked at his work, whether he was just predicting the future events or causing them. So let's get into some background on him. Ted Owens was born in Bedford, Indiana in the United States in 1920. His family, it would be fair to say, had a keen interest in the paranormal. His grandmother was a psychic medium who had great skills with the Ouija board, apparently, and would use it all the time. This is amazing. Ted's grandfather was a dab hand with dowsing rods. Using them, he was paid and managed to locate water wells for farmers.
Okay. Okay. So that is similar to, I suppose, Yuri and the oil.
Yeah. So Owen learned the skill from his grandfather. He also claimed as a child, allegedly in front of witnesses, he was seen to levitate on numerous occasions.
Really?
Yeah, there's an incredible story of him jumping off like a diving board of the swimming pool, and he just stayed up there.
Just standing there. Wow.
And then eventually came down.
That's PK for you.
Yeah. Now, he served in the military in World War II. He had periods of being a stage hypnotist and a magician. But he realised he had a skill for real magic, premonition, and psychokinesis. Now, the author, Jeffrey Mishlove, first became involved with Ted Owens after he visited a place we've talked about many times before on the podcast, the Stanford Research Institute.
Yes.
Bingo!
So he turned up there in February 1976, and Targ and Putoff from the SRI told Mishlove that a few years earlier they received a letter by a man called Ted Owens, who claimed he was the greatest psychic in the world and that the Institute should conduct tests on him.
No small claim.
Yeah, hell of a boast, as they say.
He's even changed his name.
Yeah.
I can't get that. Is that self-referential kind of like, some people call me the greatest psychic in the world, and who am I to disagree?
Yeah.
It's not very self-effacing, but, you know.
Well, Targ and Putoff declined his offer, but in the years that followed, Ted Owens just kept writing to them. And then on the January the 30th...
Hovering past their window.
Yeah. Remember me? Yeah, on January the 30th, 1976, he wrote them a letter saying he was going to show the men the extent of his powers. Here is an extract from that letter. Owens writes, I should say. Last night on 1V, the evening news showed a stricken California. Crops are dead and dying, and the animals are in pitiful condition. Now I, Ted Owens, PK man, will change all of that. Within the next 90 days from the time of this letter, I will pour and pour and pour rain onto and into the state of California until it is swimming in water and the dangerous drought is completely over. There will be storm after storm, lightning after lightning attack, and high winds.
Don't need to do the lightning, mate. Just rain and be fine.
He liked a bit of lightning. We'll come to that. So, yeah, it was a bold claim, but it was what happened next that sparked Targ, Putoff and Mishlove's interest.
Complete drought. No.
Yeah. Because it didn't take 90 days for Owen's claim to come to pass. A few days after they received the letter on February the 5th, a freak snowstorm hit the San Francisco area, leaving 3.5 inches of snow. The last time snow had fallen in San Francisco was 1887.
Oh, that's quite impressive.
As Owen predicted, the storm was also accompanied by lightning. The events mystified meteorologists. It was so strange that a representative from the National Weather Service told the San Francisco Chronicle that he was baffled by it.
Anything to say? Just baffled.
And this storm just didn't come and go. It went on for several days.
The snowstorm?
Yeah.
Wow. Even I know that is quite improbable.
Now, in the days before the storm, there was a considerable activity reported around UFOs. During the last week of January, half a dozen law enforcement agencies logged calls about a cigar-shaped object, complete with flashing lights and a vapour trail, that was seen travelling through southeastern California.
Interesting.
And then after the storm, 2 scientists spotted a UFO flying over the Cisco Mountains in northern California. The drought that had plagued the area had ended, just as Owens predicted.
Wow. That sighting of UFOs, though, that is very... I suppose, I don't know why I'm surprised by it, but what relationship does a UFO have with the weather and a psychic? That's odd.
Well, we're going to come on to a theory that Mishlove puts forward about that, because it is very interesting.
Okay.
So after the storm, Puthoff and Targ sent Ted Owens a letter congratulating him on his predictions.
Dear PK man.
Owens sent them a telegram in response stating that he had not predicted the storm. He had caused it.
Okay. So that is quite a flex.
Yeah.
And also, he's getting, I suppose if you could cause a storm, you can become big for your boots, but it's just like reply back. Dear people, lowly people.
How dare you suggest?
Yes, I caused that storm.
Yeah.
You're sincerely, PK man.
So, Ben, we were talking about UFO sightings in connection with the storm. And in Owen's mind, this was no coincidence. In fact, after this event, Targ and Puthoff published a book that Ted Owens had written titled How to Contact Space People.
Right on the nose there.
I don't think this book is still in print, but yes, How to Contact Space People. In the book, Owens
Space people.
Owens said he was in communication with hyperdimensional entities who were monitoring the Earth from space, and that these extraterrestrials had taught him or allowed him to channel his psychokinetic powers. At one point, he claimed that they had altered his brain after an abduction, making him half human and half alien. He communicated mainly with 2 entities who looked a bit like giant crickets, he said, but on 2 legs.
Oh, not the insectoids.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're the worst.
Owens named them Twitter and Tweeter.
No, he didn't. Come on.
He did.
I'm PK man, and this is Twitter and Tweeter.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Now, Ben, a bit like you're kind of alluding to, I get the impression that Targ and Puthoff from the Stanford Research Institute decided this was all a bit woo-woo for them.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, if he had just kind of gone... just calling them that name reduces your sort of impact on this.
Yeah.
But we have seen the insectoids before. I mean, the mantis people...
Yeah.
are a general thing that comes up.
Yeah.
And they're quite often depicted as controlling the greys or whatever. But 2 giant crickets, I wouldn't want to see that.
I wouldn't want to see it. It's reminded me as well, we did that story, I think it was it in New York or, in New York State where there was, I think it was Long Island, where there was a fisherman who saw one.
Yes, that's right.
Well, Targ and Puthoff kind of were like, not sure we want to go with this, but Mishlove picked up the mantle of studying the PK man and his claims. Now, Ben, I'm not sure if you're old enough, but I can just about remember when the heat wave and drought in Britain in the mid to late 70s.
I was born 75, so no.
You wouldn't. So I'm older than you, so I vaguely remember it, this just incredible summer which didn't stop. That's what it felt like as a very, very small toddler. Well, it was Ted Owens who brought an end to that drought, Ben.
Oh, good on you, Ted.
In May of 1976, Suzanne Stebbing, a British student of the paranormal, wrote to Ted Owens after reading about him in Psychic magazine. She asked Owens to end the drought in England, the worst that England had had for 150 years. She expected no reply, but Owens wrote back within a few days, basically saying he would get right on it.
We gotta get right on it.
And you'll probably see a bit of an MO developing here. Owens promised massive rainfall in the next 90 days, lightning strikes, high winds, and UFOs.
Dude, leave out the lightning. We don't need the lightning.
At the end of July, which was the end of Owens' 90-day limit, there'd been one little bit of rainfall, but some rainfall, but sporadic and light. In fact, meteorologists announced there was no end in sight to the drought. So, in terms of what Owens promised, it was ironically a bit of a washout,
It
really.
was just crickets.
Yeah. That was until, Ben, Owens arrived in London to speak at a conference on August the 27th.
A conference about being a paranormal conference.
Indeed.
Okay.
The day he stepped off the plane and set foot on British soil,
I thought he'd just fly there under his own.
it started to rain.
Oh, really? That's quite cool.
It was the first rainfall in 28 days, and it didn't stop raining for the rest of the month. And the government declared the drought over.
See, I do remember my parents telling me that it just broke and then it didn't stop raining.
Yeah.
I do remember them telling me that.
Yeah, well, that was Ted Owens getting off a plane.
Wow. Okay. And
Now-
he took credit.
Yeah. From a sceptical point of view, what happened in San Francisco and England could be coincidence, of course, or an informed guess, I guess, by Owens' part.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to end one day, isn't it? And 90 days is quite a big window.
Yeah. But if we go with the paranormal explanation, it raises an interesting question. Was Ted Owens using precognition of the events, or was he in fact causing them? So that's a big debate that goes on through the book and anyone who's studied him. Well, the author, Mishlove, decides to approach Ted Owens to try and organise a test of his own. It was inspired by a signed statement from Mensa. By the way, Ted Owens was a member of Mensa. It was this statement from Mensa's Director of Science and Education, Max L. Fogel, stating that Owens had produced a bona fide UFO sighting on demand. So he'd gone to Owens and said, "Show me a UFO," and poof, one just appeared.
That reminds me of that guy who goes to the desert and calls them down.
Yeah. And actually, if we go, I mean, the skeptic bit to this is pretty obvious, right? He's making it up. He's just predicting stuff. It's coincidence. But if we talk about it in a paranormal sense, there is an interesting theory around this and the connection with UFOs that we'll get onto. So Owens had written to Fogel this is the guy from Mensa, on October the 23rd, 1973, claiming that he was about to contact the space intelligence, the aliens, who would make a UFO appear to police within 100 miles of Cape Charles, Virginia.
That is specific.
2 days later, a UFO appeared directly over the head of a Chase City, Virginia policeman.
Oh, okay.
And he reported it.
And he reported it. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
In 1976, Mishlove writes to Owens to see if he would repeat this amazing feat for him. Owens writes back on November the 7th saying, "In the interest of science, I'm going to give a demonstration of my psi-force abilities to the people who live in the San Francisco area, 100 miles in circumference, using San Francisco as the bullseye of my target. As of today, and daily for the following 90 days, I will telepath to living entities in another dimension for them to appear in the above target area, so they may be seen by police, scientists, or other responsible observers who are qualified to report the sightings. Also for them to cause electromagnetic and magnetic anomalies within the above described area. It is my intent to produce not one, but at least 3 major UFO sightings as described above within the above named time period to be reported in the newspapers in order for the experiment to be a valid one." He also said power blackouts would happen in the area and alien life forms would be seen. Now, just over 2 weeks later, a windstorm struck the Bay Area, causing a massive blackout of around 100,000 homes. Owens then phoned Mishlove on December the 3rd, saying that one of his UFO sightings was about to happen. 7 days later, the front page of the Berkeley Gazette reported a UFO sighting by a pilot, Stephen Polsky, of a circular white object flying only 1,000 feet away from him.
Wow. Okay.
The UFO was filmed by Bill Morehouse of a local state college and was aired on Channel 9 News. The strange craft was seen by hundreds of students and hung around for about 20 minutes.
Okay, he was putting on a little show.
Yeah.
Right.
But what of the alien entities he predicted, Ben? I bet you're wondering whether they chipped up.
Yeah. Well, chirped up.
She chirped up. Well, on February the 2nd, the Concord Transcript, a local paper, published this story. A 24-year-old Concord man told police earlier today he was whisked away and examined by 5-foot grey beings from a flying saucer. According to the report, he left a Willow Pass Road restaurant about 4:10 a.m. and was confronted by 2 short grey-skinned men with enlarged skulls, no hair and black pupils. The next thing he knew, he said, was that he had been transported to a field at Willow Creek Elementary School. Where's the schools, isn't it? What is going on there?
Yeah. I mean, we've spoken before. It's like, it's a great place to get lots and lots of eyes on it. That and football stadiums.
Not 4 in the morning, though.
Oh, yeah, no, not 4 in the morning.
Then he said he was facing a circular craft with a ladder extending towards him. We're back to the ladders again. Suddenly, he was inside the ship. While there, he said he stuck his left hand in a chamber and all sorts of lights went off. He asked what was happening and telepathically was told the aliens were on a mission to study life habits on Earth. Making a documentary, I'll tell you. The beings also noted that their craft was from a larger ship located outside the planet's atmosphere. The next thing he knew, according to the report, he was outside an apartment complex on Moore Lane. For about 15 minutes, he said he was unable to move. He then called the Concord Police Department at 5:33 a.m.
Yeah. It's very interesting that what he's doing, though, is if he is doing it, these are very, very, very stereotypical experiences, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that kind of, we're here to study human life.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes along with, we're here to tell you not to use nukes. It's just like, I think it's bull. I don't think it's true at all.
Well, there's more, Ben. On January the 7th, Mishlove writes, as the experiment headed into its final days, a series of earthquakes struck.
Oh, right, yeah.
If these were Owens doing at the close of his exhibition, the psychic was going out with a bang, he says. 8 quakes rattled the Bay Area in rapid succession, one of which was 5.0 on the Richter scale.
That's quite big.
Yeah, reasonably big. Weirdly, I had a little very, very small synchronicity. While I was reading that bit of the book, I was listening to the Hamnet soundtrack by Max Richter.
That is good synchronicity.
But you're right, I guess for that area it was quite strong. It was the strongest recorded in 11 years in the area, and the epicentre was located only 20 miles east of San Francisco itself, which he predicted the epicentre would be San Francisco.
Right, okay.
Now, they do have earthquakes there, so, you could...
They do, but why do you have to cause earthquakes? Because that will hurt people.
Yeah, well, yes.
But so who's he punishing?
We'll get on to that. Owens had also said that during the experiment, to use his own words, there would be crazy phenomena all over the place. He described people would go mad, commit crimes. He even promised a poltergeist infestation and a giant UFO.
Okay.
During that period, this is all reported in the press, a crime wave struck the area. There were random bomb threats and an actual bombing.
What?
A hairdresser in Walnut Creek, coincidentally called Owen, reported a poltergeist infestation in his house. And even weirder, a giant UFO was reported by a radio operator who was also called Owen.
This is nuts.
Nuts, huh? Let's take a look at how Owens claims he first came in touch with space aliens, who gave him, or at least enhanced, his psychic powers. In early 1955, while living in Texas, Owens claims that while driving with his daughter in his car, they were targeted by a large cigar-shaped UFO. Owens says of the incident, "They had been trying to reach me since I was a child." Owens reminisced as he explained how after his sighting, he gradually found himself in contact with an alien intelligence. But the sis, as he called them, just didn't get through to me until after the UFO approached my car in Texas. It appears somehow to be a combination of that UFO sighting plus my work in hypnosis and other paranormal fields and my natural psychic abilities. So he's almost saying he had them, but this alien encounter just amplified them.
And this is Yuri's story as well. I mean,
Indeed.
not exactly the same, but it's very similar.
Yeah. Now, over the next 10 years, Owens says he was in pretty much constant communication with these alien entities, and his powers then became amplified. In communication with the space intelligences, or the SIS as he did call them, he believed that they had been abducting him since he was a child and teaching him psychic techniques. In his book, How to Contact Space People, he writes, "They showed me in my mind's eye a small chamber. Inside the chamber were two small creatures resembling grasshoppers, and insect-like but standing on two legs. These creatures looked down into a large round oval machine. In it they could see me. If I talked, they heard the sound, but the machine quickly turned the sound into symbols, then the symbols into very high-frequency sound, which they could understand. Thus, I would talk to them in English, which would jump around into odd symbols on the screen, then result in a high whistling sound which they understood. After talking with them for months in this manner, they suddenly one day pointed to a wall upon which there was a screen. They made me know that their boss or higher intelligence would appear on this screen. And for very important communications, I was to appear on the round screen and ask for control, and their higher intelligence would appear and listen to me. And this is what happened. It wasn't a face that appeared on the screen on the wall, but a shadow which had the form of a face. The only thing to be seen clearly were two green eyes shining from the screen. They made me know that their higher intelligence is made up of what we call light, no form at all, but it had made a face out of shadows on the screen to converse with me because that's what I'm used to talking to, a human face."
Okay.
So even if he's making that up, that's quite an image. That I love that idea that the entities are made of light, but if they want to communicate with us, they can project it into a shadow that looks like a face. What a great idea,
Yes.
even if it's not true.
Yeah, I mean, again, it does sound like the script of a sci-fi film.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but quite often we've heard that the alien that we see, the sort of the face of the communion book and all of that, that is not who they really are. Those are either, some people say they're droids and drones and AIs, or it is a projection of what we're able to understand, because their true image is either transdimensional, so we can't see it, or too horrifying for our own eyes.
That we could take.
Yeah. And I've been clubbing in sirens.
Hey, it's been a while.
I know.
Owens then gets in contact with Leo Spinkle and J. Allen Hynek in 1970. The two men documented Owens' predictions and claims over the next few years. So, interesting. Hynek kind of was really interested in him.
Yes, because he is, I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what he did, but he was a serious man at least.
Yeah. Now, let's get on to this idea of the manifesting of UFOs, and I use that word carefully, and this connection with space aliens, which you've also mentioned in connection with Uri Geller as well. So this idea of space aliens giving Owens psychic abilities, it does sound a bit out there, doesn't it? But it is a claim that a number of psychic superstars have made. Uri Geller, as we talked about. There is also the case of a psychic called Susan Padfield. Initially, she also believed that her powers were connected to extraterrestrials' help or interference. However, she then came to believe that this was a fantasy, a protective story that she and other psychics told themselves as a way of being able to process and live with the great abilities they possessed.
Right.
So it's too much for them. And this was a view that has been supported by many people within the field, that the UFO phenomena could be a psychic manifestation rather than alien visitors.
Right, yeah, okay. That does make a lot of sense.
And Mishlove said in the book, I wasn't aware of this, but he said that many ufologists, including Hynek, Jacques Vallée and John Keel, all considered whether UFOs were being manifested by psychics, a bit like a tulpa.
Did they? I didn't realise that.
I didn't know that either, but it would make sense. And there's a lovely bit in the book that could, if you go with that theory, would answer one of the questions we've asked lots of times on the podcast: why UFO sightings and the technology seems to change, but just a little bit in advance of what we have at the time.
Yes.
It would make sense if it was actually a manifestation rather than an actual alien arrival.
Yes, it would.
Because you would manifest it looking at a high-tech version of what was about at the time, whether it's an airship or a fighter stealth bomber.
Yes, it would make sense with the rocket flap as well, just after the Second World War.
Yeah.
Because of, we were used to missiles flying around. That is interesting that, so when they were investigating this, so the idea is it's a manifestation like a tulpa.
Yeah.
But it's a manifestation of something which is purely in our own minds, and it's not like opening a gateway to an extraterrestrial being. It really is just us making up a story in our head.
That is one theory.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to know, isn't it?
But but that's what they were investigating.
But it does solve a lot of problems that we've talked about with UFOs. You've got the Fermi paradox of, like, how are they finding us? Why are they here? And you've got this bizarre thing of how the technology and the appearance of the craft changes over time. Both of those get solved by this theory. They're a manifestation of psychic powers rather than a real UFO.
Yeah.
There's actually a name for this, named after that psychic I mentioned. It's called the Padfield Complex. Mishlove speculates that Owens, like Padfield, maybe had to believe this fantasy about the space aliens to be able to cope with the enormity of the great powers he possessed.
Yeah, because otherwise it would be too overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I can see why people would believe it as well, because it does seem highly unlikely that one man is able to, summon up an interdimensional being to, like, fly over people. Have they got nothing better to do?
Well, he claimed he was their representative on Earth. He was like their ambassador. He'd been chosen because of his psychic powers.
No, I get that, but it's the same as us finding ourselves orbiting an exotic planet many millions of light years away.
Cirencester.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we've made one contact there. And he goes, "Hey, lads, would you mind just appearing to a policeman tomorrow night about 8 o'clock?" Like, yeah, sure, I suppose so. I mean, it doesn't take full advantage of your communication, does it?
And it also doesn't solve the problem of why don't you land on the White House lawn?
Right,
why
exactly.
don't you manifest it on the White House lawn if you want to be taken seriously?
Absolutely right. Yeah. And if they are also enabling his powers, I don't think it's a great look to go and, again, in sort of go to an alien civilization and go, cause a few earthquakes.
Yeah.
I can't see a problem with that. We come in peace, have an earthquake. I don't know. It doesn't really add up. It makes much more sense if it's all coming from one man's brain.
Well, I think there is a bit in the book, if I remember correctly, where I don't know if it's Owens makes this analogy or Mishlove makes it, that from the alien perspective, we're almost like a virus. So they got no real moral qualms either way. We'll kill a virus with antibiotics. We won't think twice about that. Do you know what I mean? That's the same principle he's saying could be at play here if it is an alien technology, an alien species involved. Well, what seems clear, Ben, is that Owens began to suffer under the strain and the lack of recognition of his powers. This is where things start to turn a little bit dark. Outside of a handful of people in the paranormal, psi and ufology field, he felt that no one was taking him seriously, despite the many demonstrations he had given of his abilities. And
I am speaking to two crickets.
in my reading, this led to a kind of toxic combination for Owens. He had this huge ego that was being bruised as the authorities and mainstream didn't take him seriously or just ignored him. And in his mind, he was the greatest psychic in history, yet he and his family were, I don't think they were living in abject poverty, but they were living hand to mouth. He wasn't making tons of money out of this. I think unlike Geller, whatever you think of him, who was a showman, who knew how to commercialise what he had, I don't think Owens did.
Right.
Now, his initial intentions of trying to help people by alleviating drought turned into something more dark and vindictive. He, I feel, with his kind of ego bruise, started to act like a petulant child or a wounded animal and started lashing out. Let's have a look at some examples of how Owens' MO and his mindset could shift into a dark place. This vindictive streak in Owens, it kind of had always been there. For example, in 1972, Owens was on a lecture tour to spread the word and make some money. He visited Cleveland, but only 6 people turned up for the 2 lectures that he gave. He then appeared on a Cleveland radio station, but found the interviewer insulting and that this interviewer wasn't taking him seriously. I think he was belittled a bit on the radio. He then wrote a letter saying he was going to wreak destruction on Cleveland as revenge.
That's not cool.
He predicted giant UFOs, a heat wave, a drought. He also said he would cause lightning storms, electrical disturbances and blackouts. So again, pretty much the same stuff. And then a lightning did strike, killing 3 people and injuring others. Here is an excerpt from the newspaper detailing some of what happened. They say, what began as a mild day turned into the warmest of the summer. Temperatures climbed to a high of 97 degrees. In the late afternoon and evening, a chain of thunderstorms moved through the Cleveland area. The National Weather Service reported wind gusts of 65 miles an hour at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, as one storm dropped 5.9 inches of rain in about 5 minutes. The Weather Service also said that 1.5 inches of rain fell on Hopkins in the 5 hours last night. There was also power outages, and the newspaper reported that police had been called out due to a number of exploding manhole covers.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's very Ghostbusters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Owens later turned his anger on the city of Chicago. I couldn't quite work out why he got angry at Chicago, but he did, claiming, I will cause electromagnetic changes in the Chicago area. This will cause power blackouts and various forms of magnetic and electromagnetic anomalies. It should also cause many lightning strikes, violent storms and high winds. I love this bit. I will send hundreds of poltergeist entities into the area to cause all sorts of mischief, prankish and freak happenings.
Wow.
This will cover, of course, the O'Hara Airport and the stadium in which the Chicago Bears play football. I will especially request that the poltergeist not harm anyone or make any planes crash. But the football games of the Bears in that stadium in the month ahead should be wild, freakish and quite funny. And all sorts of strange things should happen at O'Hara Airport. Instruments will go crazy, ties blow out, etc. Not to mention human errors by the bushels full. I will set up an other dimensional grid over the Chicago area. Won't tell you what it will do, but you'll see the results. Now, I have never yet failed in a demonstration on this huge scale. Never. But the difficulty here is to try and minimise the effects so that no one gets hurt. In short, I have far too much power for such an experiment. Sort of like using a shotgun to shoot a fish in a barrel. This will not make too much sense to you, but believe me, I know what I am talking about. P.S. The time element on this will set off today. Things should start popping within days or weeks. The entire demonstration could cap and climax with 90 days. It could well be the wildest 90 days in the history of Chicago.
I think to sort of set all that up and go, oh, I don't want anyone to get hurt, when he's already setting off earthquakes and lightning, I think is a bit disingenuous.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did happen? Were those Bears games crazy?
Well, here are some news reports from that period. The Chicago Tribune for October the 14th, 1975, reported that a mysterious radio signal apparently coming from the Michigan Avenue Bridge had caused occasional brake failure on new buses operated by the Chicago Transit Authority and the United Motor Coach Company.
That's weird.
A day later, there's this, Ben. Police are investigating the possibility that a recent slaughter of 2 calves and the beheading of a rabbit in an area 50 miles northwest of Chicago may have been the work of a mysterious UFO group reportedly travelling across the country from Oregon.
There's mutilations as well.
Yeah. On December the 22nd, a Newsweek article reported an epidemic of unusual traffic jams that had recently been occurring at O'Hara Airport, while a Tribune story of December the 13th noted that there had been 4 near collisions between commercial jets flying to or from O'Hara Airport in the last 2 weeks.
That is very peculiar. That is very peculiar.
In November, 70-mile-an-hour winds hit the city, causing several tornadoes.
It is the windy city, but yeah.
And you mentioned about the Chicago Bears. Well, now remember, he said he was going to send poltergeists to plague them.
Yes.
The team ended up with a disastrous season. Mishaps abounded, clobbering came fast and furious, and sometimes the team played so ineptly that die-hard fans often became disgusted. The Bears coach, Jack Pardew, had to admit to a reporter from the Tribune that his team was functioning so poorly that he was embarrassed by it. He said, "This is the first team I've ever been associated with where we are so bad the opposition laughed at us in the field."
Wowzers. And he did say the words, "They will be quite funny."
Yeah.
So what other explanation do we have here? I mean, just coincidence?
Yep, there's coincidence. Again, we're back to that debate of if we take out a skeptic coincidence thing, or now actually Mishlove does mention this in the book. Some of these stories are coming from Owens himself. Some of them he has got predictions like this one. Now, you could say he's just making the facts, I don't know, reverse engineering the facts afterwards to go, I told you, poltergeist. But it's interesting, he was very specific about the airport and the team. In fact, in the extra scoop, we will get on to a whole period where he tried to basically wreck various sports teams' seasons and tried to kind of blackmail them for him to be paid to stop or to have a go at the opposition.
Yeah, I see. I don't think I've ever come across somebody who, whatever power they have, has been using it for extortion. And that is quite... The way he says, I specifically asked for it not to hurt anyone, it then has the implication that I could, if I wanted to, hurt someone.
Yeah, yeah.
That is a little bit... It's a very Dr. Evil.
Yeah.
It's very Dr. Evil.
He is like this. Well, in 1977, Virginia felt Owens' wrath. Owens phoned the police chief of Cape Charles and told him to get away from the area as Owens was about to send a hurricane there. On June 6, a freak storm, totally unexpected by weathermen, struck the Virginia coast. Boats were sunk in the Chesapeake Bay, radar screens were blanked out, TV broadcasts were interrupted, and even airplanes parked on airstrips were blown over. Hailstones the size of golf balls pelted the ground, with 98-mile-an-hour winds whirled over the bay and ripped into Virginia. The storm struck without warning, so severe it left 5 dead in its wake. Police Chief Powell confirmed this event and verified the content and timing of Owens' advanced warning.
It's very much like a Batman adversary, isn't it, with
Yeah.
the police chief and everything involved.
Yeah.
So,
That was not the only time that Owens manifested or claimed to manifest a hurricane that resulted
Oh,
in
really?
death. Yeah, no, he did it another time as well. He had a bit of a beef with NASA. Again, I think he had tried working with them. He had a thing about, if I remember this rightly, he'd contacted NASA and said, I can manifest lightning on demand, so I can help you, make sure that the space shuttle, you can research how to make it lightning proof. And NASA,
okay.
and NASA basically went, yeah, either didn't reply or go, yeah, forget it.
Put that in the nutter bin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. In February 1981, he sent Mishlove a letter saying he would destroy the space shuttle that was just about to launch for the very first time. Now, I know what you're thinking, but it's not that one. The next month, a shuttle accident killed one worker and injured 5 others. Now, the one you are thinking of,
Challenger.
a few years later, in July 1985, Owens wrote to Mishlove threatening NASA and the space shuttle again.
Why?
He wrote, well, in this one, he doesn't say it's him. He said, there are 4 space shuttles at NASA, this is his writing, Challenger, Atlantis, Discovery and Columbia. As of July 22nd, my UFOs were directing destructive powers at these shuttles and the NASA program. In December that year, he phoned Mishlove, warning the government they must cancel the next space shuttle flight. The space intelligence, the aliens, CIS, were going to destroy it. So he's kind of claiming he's not going to
Okay, he's
destroy
being
it.
the good guy, right.
A month later, the Challenger space shuttle disaster occurred.
Right, yes. Wowzers. I mean, so I guess he's then, you didn't listen to me, you should have cancelled it. Okay.
Yeah.
But why, in that first one, I thought he was threatening to harm...
Yeah, I again, there's this kind of almost a paradoxical enigma-like quality about him. On the one hand, he's like initially wanted to help NASA, and then almost like I said, like a petulant child goes, I'm going to show him. And then I guess in that first incident, if you go with it, in that first incident where somebody did die, probably went, oh God, I don't want to do this anymore, but I can't control it. Do you know that all this stuff going on? I mean, that's not what he says, but that's the way I took it. Well, the author of the book, Mishlove, himself believed he suffered from the anger of Owens. After one of Owens' predictions had not come true, Mishlove had phoned him and said, you're not 100% accurate, Owens immediately slammed down the phone in anger. Within 45 minutes, Mishlove says, I started to feel ill. A sore throat suddenly developed. Mishlove felt seriously unwell. 2 hours later, Owens phoned back, simply saying, Jeffrey, I apologise. I promise I will never do that to you again, and then hung up the phone. He said,
And then did he feel all right again?
He said immediately after the call, he felt better.
Yeah.
I think that really stuck with him, because he said it just came on. It was just,
Yeah.
could be psychosomatic, who knows?
Well, after what you covered in the Dean Radin investigation,
Yeah.
it's shown that it is potentially possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't like the idea of him going around like just uncontrolled and using this thing. I mean, he did say this is too much power for one man.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of him. Maybe maybe the power got to him. Maybe it is all. But you see, the other thing it could be, like you said, there's this debate about whether he is just a very good psychic who is picking up on things that are going to happen.
Yeah, and then framing it.
Yeah.
Either subconsciously or consciously,
Right, yeah.
But in terms of, let's go with, he has got these psychokinetic powers and has done these things. Mishlove makes a good point in the book. He says, in order for Owens to be held accountable or punished for the destruction or the deaths even, the courts and the law would have to acknowledge that it was him who was causing them, that he had psychokinetic powers. He was like, nobody was ever going to do that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. Because, mainstream science, well, most people just wouldn't believe it, right?
No, they wouldn't.
It's interesting you mentioned about, maybe, and Owens himself mentioned maybe too much power. There are stories in the book that seem to indicate that Owens at times couldn't control his powers. This is incredible. One example involves Owens on a flight that was about to land at Kennedy Airport. Owens had been showing an air hostess an article about him and bragging about his powers. The plane...
I just see what he's like, yeah.
You could get an idea. The plane suddenly aborted its landing, quite violently and suddenly.
Oh.
Then it did land, and when Owens later went through customs, he says a custom officer said to him, "You are lucky to be here. You know that, don't you?" He asked what he meant, and he told him that the plane ahead of Owens had been struck by lightning and crashed.
Oh, my word. Okay.
More than 100 people were killed. It was the worst disaster in US aviation history. The plane had been struck by lightning. Only the second time in US history this has ever caused a plane to crash.
Yeah, because I thought planes got hit by lightning all the time.
And it's confirmed that Owens was on the flight that was set to land immediately after that fated plane, because he showed Mishlove his ticket.
Wow. Okay. That's
So it wasn't him trying to do anything.
No,
just
no.
Weird stuff happened. Okay.
I don't think those crickets are his friends.
I think you might need to get the bingo button at hand. Ben, I think many of us remember the violent and unexpected volcanic eruption of Mount St Helens in May of 1980.
I don't.
It's you will have seen the footage. It's this because it was not an active volcano. It was just a mountain, and there is video footage of literally the whole half of the mountain being blown away.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Owens was living a few hundred miles away in Vancouver. The day after the eruption, Owens phoned Mishlove. He apologised, said that causing the eruption was an accident. He claimed he'd been working on one of his PK maps of the area and casually focused his energies in the direction of the volcano, causing Mount St Helens, which hadn't had any activity for a huge amount of time, to suddenly explode.
Okay. And is that confirmed? Scientists weren't expecting it to go off?
No, it was regarded as a dormant volcano.
Really?
I mean, I think from what I know of volcanology, I think there is no real such thing as a truly dormant volcano, but it certainly was. It was regarded in the dormant.
Yeah,
category.
yeah. It had gone to sleep for a bit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. More evidence for the man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll start to sum up now. I mean, everything you heard today could have been Owens claiming credit for events he'd no paranormal influence over at all, or predicting things that may have seemed likely to occur and taking credit for it. And, there is, again, a bit like a gambler, you probably remember his hits rather than his losses. I think Mishlove, especially the incident where Owens made him feel ill and apologised, would lean to a belief that Owens did have a mixture of precognitive and psychokinetic abilities. That maybe he had too much power that he knew how to handle, and when behaving like this petulant child, he could cause serious damage, even death. So he's kind of a flawed... But I'll tell you what, I'll leave the last word to Jeffrey Mishlove. He writes, "As for Ted Owens, it might be said that he has made a contribution worthy of being named after him. So I propose that the term Owens effect be used to refer to ostensibly psychokinetic manipulation of large-scale volatile systems such as hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, lightning, power blackouts, weather patterns, etc. Throughout his life, Owens tried both valiantly and foolishly to awaken public awareness regarding this potential. At the same time, it is easy to criticise Ted Owens as his own worst enemy. He had numerous bad habits and even criminal propensities. To put it simply, the history of his demonstration embodies many warnings about the potential harm that may be associated with this reckless cultivation of talent such as psychokinesis. Perhaps this is why the notion of witchcraft still raises shivers of fear in the general population. My own view, Mishlove says, is that Ted Owens and his powers, however they are to be explained, generally served as a mirror reflecting and amplifying the attitudes that were directed at him by those he encountered.
Interesting.
I thought that was a lovely point, don't you think?
Yeah, very much so.
It's back to that kind of cornered animal or hurt child about it. You know, you've got all this power, and undoubtedly, from my reading of it, this huge ego. And, you know, people are laughing at you. You can imagine it, can't you? You turn up to give your big talk. You've booked two days at the conference centre, and 6 people turn up over the 2 days, and then you go on the radio and you're ridiculed.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I'm going to wreak havoc on, Cleveland.
Yeah, and again, that is usually that is a common backstory of a villain in a comic book or film scenario.
Yeah, it's very Marvel universe, isn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose that's why I think it probably makes quite a lot of sense to us. But what doesn't make any sense to me, at least, is the relationship with transdimensional beings that he gives ridiculous names to.
Yeah.
And then kind of uses them for his own personal gain. But if they've got any agency themselves, they're just going along with it rather than denying it. I find all of that quite difficult to come to terms with.
And, I was thinking about this while I was working on it, because there is a whole chapter on Uri Geller and the similarities between Geller and Mishlove.
Right.
And actually, sorry, not Mishlove, Ted Owens. Mishlove kind of defends Geller in terms of, seems quite anti-James Randi. I know we did the Randi Geller before. I think he keeps saying in the book that Owens didn't make any money out of this. That he made some, but he wasn't like rich or wealthy. It was a bit hand to mouth. And I was thinking, I think that difference between him and Geller was that Owens didn't know how to do it or monetize it or make some money out of it. And I was thinking, if he was around now, YouTube, TikTok, whatever. I thought of Darren Brown quite a lot while I was... I know much. Darren Brown doesn't claim to have any powers, but, he could have, in this day and age, he could have been a superstar, I guess.
Yes, he could. Yeah. He could. He'd undoubtedly be a YouTuber, wouldn't he?
Yeah, undoubtedly, yeah.
So...
Or at least he would have somebody who would approach him and say, I'm a expert at this stuff. All you got to do is this, but I'll manage it for you. You
right,
know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Well, if you want to read the book, and I do recommend it, it is The PK Man, A True Story of Mind Over Matter, and it's by Jeffrey Mishlove. And we're going to discuss this more, as I said, in the Patreon exclusive episode, Ben and Peter's Extra Scoop, and we're going to look at when Ted Owens tried to extort money by wreaking havoc in professional sport.
Nice. So that's at patreon.com/TQM pod. And if you join us there, you get the show ahead of time without any adverts. You also get the extra scoop. You also get access to the community and the increasingly difficult to use Discord server. And
you sell it, boy.
Well, honestly, it's just causing me conniptions.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's just a lovely bunch of people that hang out over there, and it is worth getting the stuff early because quite often we end up having chats with people about it, and like stuff that we might have forgotten to mention.
Yeah.
You sort of, when you do this job, you sort of potentially become like an expert in that person for about a week, and then the knowledge dissolves. So you can come in and ask us questions for about a week until we get involved in something else.
Yeah, there we go. What episode was that?
Yeah. Well, because otherwise I wouldn't have any brain left.
There's no space up there, is there?
There's no space up there. No. In this space, everyone can hear you scream. Because I sit there and I say I tell my partner all kinds of stuff that I've learned, and then the following week she'll ask me a question about it. And I've literally got no idea what you're talking about. I have no recollection whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yes, that is what Being a Paranormal Podcast is all about.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And,
I did.
We will see you next week.
Oh, you were talking to them?
I was talking to both of us.
Oh, lovely.
To both groups. to the quantum, togetherness. Oh, sorry, that's the other thing I wanted to mention, actually. I started to think, I really started to think about this manifestation thing of the UFOs.
Oh, yeah.
And I that connection, because we did the scientific stuff that kind of suggested that there was some level of manifestation that could be, simple stuff. But I was thinking, if you have got a talent for it, observer theory, this kind of psychic, manifestation, it could all very much be connected. So this really could be an answer to UFOs, to poltergeists, to other paranormal happenings that, this combination of being able to manifest it, and in the quantum mechanics world as well, with observation changing what's occurring, could be really interesting thing to consider.
You're sounding dangerously scientific there.
Yeah, I know. I was backing away from it halfway through the sentence.
That was good.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?